Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name's Micah and today we are going to be talking about new eyeshadow palette releases. I am going crazy. I think everybody is at this point because holiday releases are here and there are so many palettes that are now coming out or that have come out. And ever since I last did this video, I think about a month ago, so much new stuff has been announced, and I want to try and go through this by brand if I can, because some brands are just like churning out the releases. Too Faced. So I have everything saved on my phone, so let me just have a look and talk to you about some new eyeshadow palette releases. Let's just talk about one release that I will definitely be getting. The Naked Honey. It's already out, I know, but I am currently on a little bit of a low buy because I will be traveling to New York very shortly. In a few weeks time, I'll be getting on a plane, so I do definitely want to have some budget to be shopping there. So that does mean that I'm sort of curbing my spending right now because I don't want to not have any money while I'm there, you know? So I'm not going to get this straight away. Maybe I'll buy it during the trip. That's definitely what I'm planning to do. But yeah, this is just, you know about my love for all things Urban Decay. So it makes sense that I would be getting this. I have all of the other Naked palettes, and these are mustards and honey shades, and you know how I feel about mustard. I don't love yellow on me, yellow tone golds, like that yellow in the middle, I'm a bit, like that's what catches your eye. But especially the left half of the palette where you have those more mustardy shades, ooh, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. And so far, what I've seen on YouTube, people who've been trying it seem to like it quite a bit, even though everybody's like, oh, we're over Naked palettes. I think it's a color scheme that can work well in terms of Naked palettes. Did everybody talk about this? I'm not sure. Let's just do Too Faced because then we're pretty much done with most of this video. The Palm Springs palette by Too Faced. Nope, not going to get it. That watermelon palette that they've come out with, Watermelon Slice. It seems to have face products on one side, shadows on the other. Not interested. And then we have their Pumpkin Spice palette, which bunch of browns and oranges, no thank you. I already mentioned the extra spice in my other video at the start of August, but yeah, I can mention it here again. I bought the spice, the gingerbread spice palette last year, which I really enjoyed, but I feel that this is too similar. It just really doesn't add anything to my collections. There seems to be some sort of like mini palette, Hot Butter Rum. I do really like the concept of these. I was eyeing up the Cookies and Cream palette that they did last year for holiday. I was very intrigued with that. It's just that Too Faced just kind of does the same things every single year. I wish it would bring something more unique and not like a mini version of the gingerbread spice. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And if you don't have these kind of shades, like a couple of burgundies and like coppery browns, if you don't have those yet in your collection, I'm sure this will be nice. But for me, this is just no. So that would be Too Faced that we can get out of the way. Color Rain is coming out as well. I think it has already come out with Power. It's a new collaboration that they're doing, and it has a palette that is part of it. I really enjoy Color Rain shadows. They have some really, really nice quality. But this is like berries and reds and champagnes, which I have that a million times over in my collection, so I'm not going to get it. I think that one of the most hyped up palettes at the moment is the Anastasia Norvina Volume 1. Anastasia, of course, came out with the Alyssa Edwards, which was very much like the Riviera, in my opinion, which is why I didn't get that. The Jackie Aina, people have been asking me if I'm going to be getting that. I am not, because there's only one shade in the palette that appeals to me. And Sydney Grays did a couple of comparison swatches on their Instagram, and they showed that their shade Red Chameleon, which I own, is very much like Sponsored, which is the only shade in the Jackie Aina palette that I would get the palette for, you could say. So I don't need that, and I don't need this because this is a bunch of purples and warm tones. It seems to have a couple of interesting shades, and what I'm seeing people do with this palette is really nice. It does seem to be more of a pressed pigment kind of palette again, which, you know, some people think like, oh, that's really, really difficult to work with. Some people have said that these don't blend out very much, but that you have to be very careful how you use it. It's just, I wish that some of these purples were in the original Norvina palette that they released last year. But this is, how many shades are there again? Like 25? 25 shades, and it's just too big as well. Like, I kind of like 12 to 15 shades. That's perfect for me. With a palette this big, I just, I know I won't use half of it, so no to the Norvina Volume 1. I'm trying to get comfy here, okay? Because we've got so much going on. A palette I'm very interested in, and I hope I can find this when I'm in the US, is the new e.l.f. Earth and Ocean palette. It's got blues on one side and then greens on the other. And it's like, it's not these bright greens like I'm wearing today, but it's more like murky, cocky, mustardy greens almost. It seems to have a silver, a nice like lavender bluey shade. If I can find this when I'm in the US, I will definitely try and snatch it up because that palette looks stunning. But e.l.f. is really hard to get where I live. I found out that we can buy it from Douglas now, but it's marked up quite a bit, so it's not as affordable as it would be in the US. And I'm definitely sure that this like new release like this, it will probably take like a year for it to get to us. So by the time it comes here, we will have already moved on to something else by e.l.f., I'm sure. So Beauty Bay also has a line of eyeshadow palettes, and they have come out with a collaboration with an influencer makeup artist kind of guy, and it looks pretty. I was definitely intrigued when I first saw this. It's just that I wish it was just the right side of the palette that I could get, and that I could skip the left one. Then I would have been a lot more intrigued. But now I have to buy one palette that is one part warm tones and one part cool tones, and yeah, just give me the cool tones. That would be much better. So this is a brand I hadn't heard of before. It's a Focallure Beauty. I'm not sure where they're from. I believe they are Chinese American, it seems. And they have an all yellow palette, very much like the Aha Honey palette by ColourPop. And this is their Smile palette. And it seems to have a couple of really interesting shades, which is why I saved it. I'm not sure about the kind of other shades that you get in here though, because it seems some of the shimmers don't really seem to go with the mattes that are in this palette, so I'm a bit unsure. But this could be a very nice one, and if that bright yellow swatches the way it swatches on the picture that I have in front of me right now, then ooh, that would be nice. A holiday release from Pat McGrath is coming out. The Midnight Sun eyeshadow palette is coming out. Pat McGrath palettes are definitely something I want to check out when I'm at Sephora in the US to see if there's a color story that grabs me and then maybe invest in it. It's definitely sort of like a big question mark though, because when I look at the palettes online or when I've seen people use it in videos, to be quite honest, I'm not wowed by it. Like, it just seems to be a bunch of shimmers and a couple of duochromes that then sort of like has everybody raving about it, which I understand, but if I'm not going to buy a palette that is that expensive for just 2 shades, you know what I mean? So for me, Pat McGrath is definitely on the wish list to check out, but I'm not sure whether I would buy anything by her. Some indie brands as well. Love Luxe Beauty came out with the Pastel Princess palette in August, and that looks really pretty, but I just bought the Strobe Cosmetics Creepy Cute palette, so I don't really feel I need another pastel palette, so I'm going to be skipping up on that. A palette that really intrigued me, and again that I might be able to see in real life when I'm in the US, is the Dominique Cosmetics Celestial Storm palette. Now this is a palette, you guys, It's got purples, it's got teals, it's got a couple of red berries, warm tones, it's got a couple of cool tone browns. This seems to be the kind of color story that I could get down with. I've heard really good things about the Dominique Cosmetics formula. A lot of people like their Berries and Cream palette, I believe it's called, and the Latte palette. Those are color stories that I feel I already have in my collection, so I wouldn't be getting that. But this looks really pretty. So if this swatches well in store, I might definitely be interested in trying to pick this up. So I believe that another bit of news that came out was that Kim Kardashian Beauty is coming to Ulta, and she has new palettes, which I think that if you're really into her style of makeup, which is like smoky eyes and like brown smoky eyes and that sort of like very monochromatic sort of look, I think that that can really work. But to be quite honest, I'm not a fan of the Kardashians at all. I've never seen a single episode. So KKW Beauty and also like the Kylie stuff, I never really got down with. I never got the hype, and these aren't the kind of palettes that really appeal to me because I have these kind of neutrals, truth be told. Another indie brand that I wanted to mention is Gimme Glow Cosmetics. They came out with their Vintage Rose palette, and this is looking stunning, you guys. It has a couple of really nice greens and then a lot of like pinky rosy shades. So that is something that I would maybe eventually get, but it's not on my immediate wish list like the Naked Honey. Another indie brand that I have already added to my wish list that maybe I'll get it later in the year, who knows, but Lethal Cosmetics has come out with some new singles, and whoo, I really enjoyed the first bunch of their singles that I tried. I did a build your own palette through their website, I think May or June, and I definitely tried them out straight away, and it was amazing quality formula. And they've come out with some like pinky shades and some blue shades now that I think can very nicely complement some of the shades I already have in the palette I already built. So I would definitely want to buy like another build your own palette with like some more shades, because there's 12 that can fit into there really nicely, really pretty. And yeah, they have a really good formula, and they're European, which means that if you're in Europe, you don't have to pay for customs. Yay. Another BH Cosmetic release, I forgot that this was coming out by them, but they have, of course, that really bright rainbow palette, Take Me to Brazil. And now they're coming out with, again, a little bit more of a rainbow, but a little bit more grungy and darker, which is the Take Me to Ibiza palette. This looks actually quite similar to the Celestial Storm, come to think of it, if you look at it a little bit more closely. But I think this is a bit brighter perhaps. And what is throwing me off are those warm tones again on the right side of the palette. No, like the berries and the blues that are in the left hand side of the palette, I'm like, yes, give me those. The warm tones, and then this has a lot of shades that, you know, the Dominique Cosmetics is like a lot more curated. It has like little like duos in like the same color family, and this is just a bunch of shadows. Give me all the shadows, and I know I won't use that, so something that big, I'm terribly sorry. So of course, what is a week without a ColourPop release? They released the Baby Got Peach palette in August, which I still have yet to buy any of the monochromatic palettes, and I keep saying I hope that they go on sale for Black Friday and I can get some then. So I'll probably buy all of them. They've also come out with an Ulta exclusive, I believe. This is not really my cup of tea. They seem to have discontinued some of their older palettes and are now replacing it with newer palettes, which if I wasn't already interested in the old style, I'm not going to get the new ones either, I guess. So that. Then of course there's a new Kathleen Lights collab, the So Jaded palette, which it's too big. I keep saying this, but it's 30 shades. I would never use this. Like, it's just too big and bulky to store. I like very curated palettes. I've come to realize that. I would gladly make an exception for an Urban Decay palette down the line, but this is just, I don't know, it's just, the layout is also so haphazard, and then I think it seems to suffer from what I think a lot of ColourPop palettes suffer from, which is repeat shades. like the two shimmers in the top corner, and then there seem to be two champagne shades that are very similar. Some of those like murky, like mustardy mattes seem to be very similar. And then you have two like burgundy brownie shades. Like once you put those things on your eye, it's going to look the same. So no can do. Oh yeah, let's talk about this because I think this is really, really interesting. Essence and Catrice are coming out with a joint limited edition collection, and I've heard that it's supposed to release over here at the end of September, and it's their Royal Party Sister Love Trend Edition, where each brand has created different palettes. There are face palettes and there are eye palettes. The one that I'm much more there's one that Essence is going to be doing for this limited edition that really, really intrigues me, and it's their Silver Glitter Show palette, and it's cool tone neutrals, it seems. It seems to have really fun, sparkly packaging, which is another reason why I would like to get it, but it seems to have a blend of mattes and shimmers, and then it's very sort of reminiscent of the Milani palettes, like with the three quads. It's very, very inspired by that, I think. And they're also doing a pink glitter show one that is more like berry and like pink shades, like also neutral, but these are of course going to be super affordable, and the packaging of these seems to be very sparkly and fun. So those might be some that I would like to try. An indie brand that I saw just popping up randomly, like I don't feature all of the indie stuff that I see coming out, only if it like sucks me in and grabs my attention, which definitely not everything does. But there's the Nomad Cosmetics Lago di Como palette. They seem to have these like travel style palettes a lot. Nomad Cosmetics, what's in a name? And it seems to have some really nice blues and greens, but I think I'm pretty much set when it comes to blue and green eyeshadow palettes for the time being, so I don't need any others. Then there is the Melt Radioactive palette, and this I saw and I was like, oh, now I know why the Radioactive stack has been out of stock for such a long time, because I bought some Melt stacks last year, and I've actually been like browsing their website and also Beauty Bay to see if, you know, there's another stack that I would like to purchase. And I was like, you know what? I don't have many neon shades. Give me neons. Melt has some nice neons, it seems. Radioactive stack, when will you be back in stock? And now they're releasing it as a palette. And if these swatches are anything to go by, then this may be the kind of palette that is quite up my street. Now, Melt Cosmetics is expensive. You only get 8 shades and it's $48. But Melt is available at Sephora, of course, for a while now. So again, one that I want to check out and see if I buy it. In fact, the Gemini and the Smoke Sessions are also sort of like on the very, very long-term wish list. Like, I'm in no hurry to get those. But maybe eventually I might want to get those, even though Beauty News did show how one of their palettes got moldy, and it makes me a bit apprehensive, to be quite honest. But that being said, I'm very intrigued by the Radioactive palette. Can't lie. Now, another palette that had a lot of people really raving about it, like, ooh, look what Bobbi Brown is coming out with. Now, Bobbi Brown is not a brand that is usually on my radar, but they're coming out with a limited edition eyeshadow palette for holiday 2019, and it looks really pretty. But this is one of those things where I'm like, I would have to see this in store, because with Bobbi Brown, like, have you ever swatched their powder products? It never really feels that great. And Bobbi Brown is, of course, more aimed at more natural makeup wearers as well. So I can get it, but it seems to have a really stunning teal, some really stunning cranberry shades. But those peachy champagnes, those all look identical. So I don't think this will be necessary, but it looks really stunning in the design. Like, props to Bobbi Brown for the design of that palette. Oh yeah, and then there are 2 palettes that are being released that almost look the same, like by different brands. First up, there is the Visi Art, what's it called again? Dark Edit, with matte and shimmer. Like this is a color story I could get down with. Again, it's very similar to that Celestial Storm sort of Dominique Cosmetics kind of vibes. It seems to have 8 mattes and 4 shimmers, but you do get a nice range of dimension, I think. Of course, Viseart is always a little bit expensive, and I never really fell in love with my sultry muse, and that's why I've just been a little bit apprehensive about buying Viseart, because I'm not sure I would use it enough. Then a palette that is very similar to it is the Midnight Maven palette by Artist Couture. And that is very similar to the Viseart, but it seems to have a much brighter pink, you guys. So this looks really stunning. Not sure how I would get it. Oh, it's available from Sephora apparently. So it is going to be available there, but October 27th in stores, which, unless it comes to the European website, I will probably not be able to get my hands on that. Another palette that has me very, very intrigued is the Lime Crime Venus Immortalis. It's an all cool tone palette, and it's neutral, but with a bit of interest. It seems like that gray in the bottom row seems to have a bit of purpley blue to it, which, ooh, and I love the Venus XL that I got by Lime Crime, so this may be one that I need to add to my wish list. Again, not something that I would really put high on the list. It doesn't seem to be a limited edition, so I'm in no hurry to get that, but it's a pretty one. So that's definitely one that if I saw it in real life, I would definitely swatch it and see if I would want to get it. I haven't seen any inside palettes, like pictures of this, but Menagerie Cosmetics seems to have a new lion themed palette. And I really enjoyed my Menagerie Cosmetics palettes, you guys. This is called the Killer Purr. If it's anything to go by, Menagerie is usually pretty good at putting shades in the palette that resemble the shades you see in the artwork. So if this is greens and oranges and browns, I don't need it. But I do have to say that if that's something you are looking for, definitely try them out, because Menagerie has some really lovely quality shadows. Natasha Denona, for an expensive high-end brand, they have been releasing a lot. They're coming out with a mini gold palette. I already have the large version of the gold palette, which I just bought over the summer, so I don't feel I need this. But there are a couple of shades in here that I don't think are actually in the large gold. I think the only two that may be in the larger gold palette are the beigey matte and the yellow tone gold in the middle. The other 3 shades are definitely not in the Natasha Denona gold palette, like the large one. Then we have the Metropolis palette. And this is another one of their like larger palettes. It's 29 pans, but it is not as much as the older 28 pans. So the older 28 pans, like the, what's it called, the blue brown and the purple blue or whatever they were called, those were like $239. This is still expensive. This retails for $129. And again, like with many of the other palettes I talked about, can I keep the left hand side of the palette, please? But then do away with the oranges and reds on the right side? Like if we could do that, like I would be interested in like 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 columns. Those are interesting. The other ones, I can do without. Makeup Revolution has come out with a Halloween collection. They are releasing the Slime and the Blood palette, with the blood being quite boring, to be quite honest. It's got some like purpley, pinky tones, it seems, and then some reds, and a bunch of neutrals, which is what they always do. Huh? Makeup Revolution? By now we know it. And then the slime palette seems to be a little bit more unique, but that seems to be very haphazard in its color story. And I've already mentioned a couple of times how much I'm over Makeup Revolution for the minute. I've definitely been trying a couple of their base products that they newly released, but their palettes, I don't use the ones I already have as much as I should. So I shouldn't be buying anything new by them. NARS is coming out with an all shimmer palette. Nope, not gonna do it. Who is in for a bit of drama? Wet n Wild is coming out with a palette, and James Charles has said, that looks just like mine that I did with Morphe. So please, I'm not very happy with that. And Wet n Wild was apparently not really great at handling that very well. I haven't seen any of that drama. I just sort of like saw it popping up on my feed. I was like, oh, there's a bit of drama going on. I wasn't interested in the James Charles palette to begin with, not just because it's James Charles, but because this is 3 rows of neutrals and then 2 rows of brights. I have the brights in other palettes. Then those 3 rows of neutrals I also have in other palettes. So if I'm not interested in the James Charles palette, I'm also not getting the Wet n Wild one. I saw this popping up. Now, Makeup Geek is a brand that not enough people are talking about anymore. And I've seen it disappear from Beauty Bay. Like, all of their stuff was out of stock for such a long time. And then they just kind of, if you now try and look for Makeup Geek on Beauty Bay, it's gone. It sort of like just died on there. Which means I can only get it still from their official website, which is a bit of a shame. But Makeup Geek is also for sale in Target. So when I'm in New York, guess what I'm going to be doing? Yes, I'm going to be checking out the Makeup Geek counter in Target. Hopefully it's not ransacked completely, to see if they might be having this. This is their Stay Pineapple, I think. No? Oh, it's a collaboration with Stay Pineapple. I'm not sure what that is. Some brand, probably. And they have created the Life of the Party palette, and it's got a gold and a green and a couple of neutrals and a teal. And you know how I feel about teal. So this may be nice, but actually I've decided that if you saw one of my singles videos that I did just a couple of weeks ago, I have a bit of space left in one of my palettes. And I've decided that I think I may want to fill it up with some Makeup Geek singles. So I may want to buy singles over a palette from them, because these kind of shades, again, like most of these I already have. So maybe I should just go with singles and buy shades that I don't have. More new makeup revolution. I already forgot because this is so new. This is the last thing that I liked before filming this video. And they're releasing a new palette with Alex's Stone. And it's a rainbow palette, but it seems to be a really nice, fairly nice rainbow palette. You got a full row of like reds, and then the pinks, purples, then grays and a black, blue, green, and yellow. It looks really pretty. I like that gradient thing that it has going on. But to be quite honest, some of these shades, just by looking at the pictures, it seems to be a bit samey. So like 3 of those blues probably look the same on the face. So not going to get it. Morphe is going to be dropping a new palette as well. Again, no picture yet of the inside when I'm filming this. This is the 3503. Oh yes, they're keeping the oranges and the reds going. Again, 35 shades, too big, not my jam, so sorry Morphe, not going to get it. Let's end the video on a very positive note. Something that I definitely want to check out are the 2 new palettes that Juvia's Place has dropped. The Warrior 3, which is like darker rainbow shades. That has my heart. I think that will be a really nice addition to my Juvia's Place and eyeshadow palette collection overall. And I'm very taken with the Nomad. It has Natasha Denona mini gold vibes, but it has a couple of cool tones in there as well. And then that sunflower yellow. I'm very intrigued with this. This is a type of neutrals palette where I feel like, ooh, yeah, that is a little bit more interesting and unique. So that would be something I would be interested in. So again, Juvia's Place is available from Ulta. So if I find myself an Ulta store and maybe they're in stock, I might get them. If not, I may have to order them at the later date. So yeah, nothing too much going on yet. I will definitely be buying a few palettes, I'm afraid, when I'm in the US. I definitely might, but it depends on what I can find. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more by me. I hope to see my next video, and that will be posted very, very soon because I post 3 times a week. Bye!